Hoover, Alabama is one of the most popular cities in and around the Birmingham metro. And it's easy to see why. You've got shopping, top-rated schools, some of the best real estate in and around the Birmingham metro, and so much convenience packed into this area. And if you're relocating from out of state, trying to find the exact neighborhood or place in Hoover, Alabama that you want to live can be pretty difficult. Some people are recommending this suburb, some are recommending another. And all of that noise just adds to the difficult decision that you have to make. Which part of Hoover is going to fit you and your lifestyle the best? So in this video, I'm going to pull up a map and we're going to walk through Hoover like if you and I were just sitting down together on a relocation call. We're going to talk about where Hoover is, how it's laid out, the major roads, the different pockets of town, the restaurants, local spots that people actually go to. We're going to talk about parks, schools, shopping, and what you need to think about when you're trying to decide which part of Hoover makes the most sense for you. And by the end of this video, my goal isn't just to help you know Hoover better. My goal is for you to understand which part of Hoover may actually fit the way that you live. So let's go ahead and jump into the map. All right, so first, if we zoom out here, you can see Hoover sits just south of Birmingham. You got that Birmingham area up here to the north, and you got the Homewood and Vestavia area right here. So you've got Pelham and Helena, which are south of Hoover, and you've got the Bessemer and McCalla areas over to the west. And then over here, Hoover stretches towards that Highway 280 side. So that's going to put you closer to Inverness, Greystone, Chelsea, North Shelby, and that whole 280 corridor. And this is why Hoover can get confusing for people, because Hoover's not just a tiny little suburb where everything revolves around a downtown square. I mean, you guys see it on the map. It's spread out, and depending on where you live in Hoover, your daily life could point you towards downtown Birmingham, or it could point you towards Highway 150, or maybe towards Highway 280. And that matters because when somebody tells me, Zach, we're thinking about moving to Hoover, one of the first things I want to figure out is not just their price range, it's where they're going every day. Are you commuting to downtown? Do you have a job at UAB? Are you going towards Homewood or Vestavia? Are the kids' activities near the Hoover Met? Or are they on the 280 side? Because all those answers that I ask my potential clients when we're having these relocation calls changes the part of Hoover that we end up going to look at first. And this is where Hoover starts to make a lot more sense once you stop looking at it like one big suburb and you start looking at it through the roads. Because the roads are really what determines how you live here day to day. Now if we zoom in a little closer here, the roads start to explain Hoover. And the big ones that you need to know about are I-65, which run north to south. So if you're traveling from the Montgomery area or somewhere south, you'll go straight through Hoover and downtown Birmingham, even all the way up to Tennessee. Next up is I-459, which runs from west to east. It kind of runs southwest all the way up to northeast, and you can see that here on the map. This is probably one of the more popular interstates in and around the Hoover area because there's so many exits off of I-459 that get you into Hoover, and a lot of people will take this instead of taking some of the highways. Next up is good old faithful. We got Old Montgomery Highway, which is also called Highway 31. This is kind of the backbone of what Hoover was built off of. It was one of the main corridors before they even put in the interstate systems here. So if the interstates are backed up, you can always count on Highway 31. However, just know there's a ton of red lights. And next up, you got the Highway 150 area. This is also known as John Hopkins Parkway. Get you from that Riverchase area all the way out west to Stadium Trace, even over into that Ross Bridge area. Another popular road worth mentioning is Valleydale Road. So if you're on Highway 31 more towards the south side of Hoover and you're trying to travel east to west or west to east, this is going to be one of those main roads that you're going to take. We also got to mention Lakeshore Drive. This actually gets you closer into that downtown Birmingham area. You've also got Ross Bridge Parkway, which we just mentioned when we were talking about 150, and you've got Highway 280. And if you visited here in Birmingham or the Hoover area, you've probably heard the traffic on Highway 280 just as much as you've heard the terms Roll Tide or War Eagle. So let's break those roads down a little more. So if you're near that Bluff Park or Highway 31 area, you're going to feel more connected to the Birmingham, Homewood, Vestavia, downtown UAB, and I-65. And if you're over here around Stadium Trace, Trace Crossing, Lake Wilburn, Ross Bridge, or Highway 150, it's going to feel like a completely different version of Hoover. This is where you got places like the Hoover Met, the Finley Center, Costco, you got Stadium Trace Village, and a lot of the newer commercial growth is happening out this way. And if we slide all the way over here to the east side of Hoover, you're going to be in the Greystone area. And we're talking about that Highway 280 lifestyle. It's a completely different day-to-day rhythm than living in, let's say, Bluff Park or the Riverchase area. So when people ask me, is Hoover a good place to live? My answer is usually, which Hoover are we talking about? Because the map matters a lot here. So now that we got a basic understanding and layout, let's start with one of the most recognizable and older parts of Hoover. And this is the area I usually bring up when somebody tells me that they want Hoover, but they don't want everything to feel brand new. Let's start with Bluff Park. And if we zoom in here, you can see Bluff Park sits up on Shades Mountain. And this is one of the more older, more recognizable parts of Hoover. You've got Shades Crest Road running through here, you got Chapel Road, you got Bluff Park Village, and you're not far from Highway 31. It's also close to places like Vestavia, Homewood, or downtown Birmingham. And this is the area that I usually want people to understand if they tell me, Zach, we like Hoover, but we don't necessarily want the newer subdivision feel. And Bluff Park has more mature trees, older homes. They're going to have bigger lots than some of the newer construction neighborhoods. And they're going to be renovated homes. And some even are a little older that haven't been renovated yet that you could actually get for a pretty good price. And honestly, this is one of those areas where if you drive through it, you either get it pretty quickly or you realize you want something newer or more uniform. Now we're going to zoom in here around that Bluff Park Village. This is where you start to see some of the local spots that people actually know. You got the Bluff Park Diner, which is the kind of place where you can grab a quick lunch or get a meat and three style plate, and it feels very local. It's not one of those places where you're trying to be fancy at night. It's more like, hey, I need a quick bite to eat and I want something easy. I want it to feel like a neighborhood spot. And that's definitely the vibe here. You've also got Mr. P's Deli and Butcher Shop here in the Bluff Park area. And this is one of those places that locals will mention when they're talking about sandwiches, butcher shop items, or something quick without going into a big chain restaurant. And then if we come down here towards Highway 31, you've got Tortuga's Pizza. It's one of those Hoover spots that people know for their Chicago-style stuffed pizza. And that's the kind of place where if someone's new to town, they may not know about it right away, but the locals definitely do. And if you're like me and you got kids, or you just want easy pizza night without doing the same chain restaurant again and again, this is the kind of spot that you definitely want to keep in your back pocket. So if I'm talking to a buyer and they say we want Hoover, but we still want some of that local character, this is one of the first areas I want them to look at. You're not just getting the house here, you're getting the older Hoover feel. You're getting quick access back towards Birmingham, and you're getting some of those local spots where you can grab dinner, grab lunch, get ice cream, or take the family without feeling like you're only surrounded by big box retail stores. Now, school-wise, this is where I always slow down with people. Hoover City Schools has multiple elementary schools, middle schools, and they have 2 high schools. And the zoning for these schools is property specific. So I'm not going to tell you which one's better than the other, because that really depends on the child, the family, and the specific needs. But if schools matter a lot to you, like it does for a lot of families that I help, we're going to help you walk through the process of verifying which school goes with which property. Now, Bluff Park gives you that older, more character-filled version of Hoover, but if we slide down the map a little bit, you'll start to get into that part of Hoover that may not always get the most attention online. But for day-to-day convenience, it makes a ton of sense. And before we get into this next part, I'm Zach, your local real estate agent right here in the Birmingham Metro, and I help people like you relocate to places like Hoover. So if you like this video so far, go ahead and feel free to subscribe, like the video, and if you're ready to take that next step or want to explore some other cities around Birmingham, just click the link in the description. It's a free strategy call. We'll actually walk through similar stuff like we're doing right now, but it's going to be a little more custom tailored to you. Now, if we move on down this way, we get into what I would call the central part of Hoover. And if we zoom in here, you can see Riverchase, Highway 31, Valleydale Road right here. You've got I-65 and I-459. The Riverchase Galleria is over right here, and you've got Patton Creek, which is a popular shopping area, and you got a lot of everyday different dining spots, shopping spots that people use all the time. And Riverchase is one of those classic Hoover areas. It may not always be the flashiest neighborhood name on YouTube, but from a practical standpoint, it makes a lot of sense for a lot of people. And this is good if you want convenience, because this part of Hoover is hard to ignore. You've got quick access to the interstates, you've got the Galleria for shopping, you got Patton Creek for different restaurants, you got office spaces, grocery stores, and just a lot of older established neighborhoods here. And this is what I would tell a client. Look, this may not be the trendiest part of Hoover, but it may be one of the most functional. Because your day-to-day life here can be pretty easy. I mean, if we zoom in around the Patton Creek and Galleria area, you'll see a lot of familiar names. You get places like Firebirds, Redlands Grill, and if you like seafood, Jubilee Joe's is nearby. And you've got a lot of chain restaurants as well. But then you're also close to local Hoover staples, depending on which direction you go. And y'all, this is the kind of area where if you need to run errands, meet somebody for lunch real quick, maybe go shopping or grab dinner after work, you're probably not driving 25 minutes just to find something. And then right off of Lorna Road over here, you've got Aldridge Gardens. This is one of those places that I think people moving here should definitely know about. It's not a massive state park or anything like that, but it's more of a peaceful botanical garden right here in the middle of Hoover. And y'all, this is one of those places where you could go walk around with your spouse, take the kids for a slower afternoon, take them out for a scooter ride, or maybe just go there to take family pictures or just get outside without having some huge plan. And that's what I like about this part of Hoover. You got restaurants, shopping, you've got access, and you got places like Aldridge Gardens that's tucked right into the city. So if I'm talking to a client and they say, we want convenience, but we still want pretty places to walk and get outside, this central part of Hoover area has more of that than people realize. And that's why Riverchase and Central Hoover shouldn't be overlooked. Now, we just talked about Central Hoover and how much convenience that it gives you, but y'all, this next area is where Hoover really starts to feel newer, busier, and more activity driven. And if you got kids in sports, or you just like being close to restaurants, other shopping, and some events, you'll definitely want to pay attention to this next part. Now let's move to the west over from Riverchase, and if we zoom in here, you can see Stadium Trace Parkway. You got the Hoover Met Complex. This is actually where Hoover High School is. You got the Finley Center as well. Stadium Trace Village, which is a newer like shopping and restaurant area here. You've got the Grove and a lot of newer growth that's really shaped Hoover over the past several years. And y'all, this is one of the biggest reasons Hoover feels different today than it did 10 or 15 years ago. And if you got kids in sports, or you're constantly running to and from tournaments, practices, events, or you just like being closer to newer shopping and restaurants, this area is probably going to be right up your alley. You got the Hoover Met Stadium here, hosts multiple tournaments throughout the year. You also got the Finley Center, got all the sports fields, and this whole area has just really become a major activity hub for the city. And if we zoom in around that Stadium Trace Village and the Grove area, this is where you're starting to see some of those restaurants and hangout spots that people actually use. And you've got that Brock's Gap Brewing Company over here, which is one of those places where you can grab a beer, get food, meet friends, and it's one of those more casual neighborhood hangout spots. You also got Cajun Steamer right here in Stadium Trace, and that's a good one if you like something casual. They've got also Melt, which is a great little hamburger spot, and you'll probably see a couple of these around the Birmingham area, but Taco Mama. You've also got places like Walk-Ons, which is easy if you're watching a game, meeting another family, or you just need a spot where the kids can come to and hang out. And over across the other side of the interstate, you got places like Forelli's, which is at the Grove. And this is one of those spots where this could be a date night with your wife or a nice dinner without driving all the way into Birmingham. And you got a couple of these big box stores out here too. You got Super Target, At Home, got a Kohl's. There's a couple other small areas right there in that strip mall too. So, I mean, even my family, we don't live in Hoover necessarily, but we do travel into this area to go shopping because they just have so much access to everything. And that's exactly why so many people move here, because this area is just a very different version of Hoover. It's a newer feeling, exciting, busy, convenient. And for some families, especially if you're in that stage of life, kind of like I am right now, you've got school, sports, activities, dinners out, Target runs, weekend events. Guys, they're just part of your normal routine. And this side of Hoover can make a ton of sense for you. But again, this is why the map matters, because living near Stadium Trace is not the same as living in Bluff Park or even Riverchase. Now next up is where a lot of people get interested in Hoover, because once you understand the Stadium Trace and Hoover Met area, you're only a few minutes away from probably one of the most searched and most recognizable communities in the entire city. Now let's move southwest into Ross Bridge, because if we zoom in here, you can see Ross Bridge Parkway, the Renaissance at Ross Bridge Resort, the golf course, the Village Center area, and all the different neighborhood pockets inside of Ross Bridge. And like I said earlier, it's probably one of the most recognizable communities in Hoover, especially for people relocating in from out of state. A lot of people find it online because it photographs well, it has that resort, it has golf, it has sidewalks, it has that more polished master plan feel. And this is what I would tell a client. If you want the neighborhood itself to feel like part of your lifestyle, Ross Bridge is probably going to be on your list. Now let's take a second and look at some of the local spots here, because this is what makes Ross Bridge feel completely different. And if we zoom in here near the entrance, we've got the front porch. It's one of those places that makes sense for a lot of different moments. mean, you could come here and grab dinner with the family. You can meet another couple here. You could just take your wife there for a casual date night out. It's not high-end upscale, but it's also not fast food. It's got that neighborhood restaurant feel where it makes sense if you live nearby and you want something easy but still nice. And then you got the hometown fair inside of Rossbridge. This is another one I would mention if someone says, we want to live somewhere where we can stay close to home and still grab a good meal. And this is why some people fall in love with Rossbridge, because the neighborhood itself gives you some lifestyle. You got sidewalks, it's that resort feel. You can go play golf. You got those restaurants and the events in that community feel. And at the same time, you're close to home and you still have places to go. But with all the pros that we just mentioned, there's definitely some cons too that might not be a good fit for a lot of people. You're further southwest in the Bluff Park or Riverchase area, so when I'm working with a buyer, I always want them to think about where they're actually going every single day. So if you're working downtown or you're going to UAB, maybe you have to travel into Homewood, Vestavia, or you're constantly going back and forth from the center of Birmingham, you need to drive the route and understand Rossbridge may be the perfect fit for you. But I don't want you to choose it just because it looks good online. I want you to choose it because the lifestyle and the location actually fit. And for some people, it's just a little too far out of the fold if they have to be kind of closer into that downtown Birmingham area. So it's definitely one of those polished, master plan, resort style communities, but just a few minutes away, Hoover gives you a totally different feel. More front porches, more charm, more nature, and one of the most unique neighborhood settings in the city. And before we cover the next area, I want to make sure you got all your questions answered. So if you're considering moving here from out of state and you're ready to take that next step, but some of this is a little confusing, just go ahead and click that link in the description, fill it out at your own convenience. It takes like 45 seconds and we can set up a call where we can kind of strategize and go over this a little more in detail for you. And when you're ready, go ahead and fill that out there. All right, next up, we're going to cover the Moss Rock and the Preserve. And if we zoom in here, you can see the Preserve Parkway, Moss Rock Preserve, and Highway 150 nearby. And the Preserve is one of the most visually distinct areas in Hoover. This is that front porch, village style, charming neighborhood feel. It doesn't feel like Rossbridge, Bluff Park, or Riverchase. Y'all, it's got its own personality, and one of the biggest reasons people like this area is because of Moss Rock Preserve. So if you're the kind of person who says, we want Hoover, but we also want trails, trees, nature, and something that doesn't feel like every other subdivision, the Preserve is worth understanding. And then if we zoom out here, you've got Vecchia's Pizzeria right here in the Preserve. This is one of those local spots that makes the neighborhood feel more complete. And if you want pizza with the kids, you can do that here. If you want a casual night out, you can do it here, or just something close by without driving into the city of Hoover. And this is the kind of thing that buyers don't always understand from a listing. They see the house, the square footage, the price, but they don't always understand the day-to-day feel. And the Preserve is not just a neighborhood near Highway 150, it's a specific look and a specific feel. And if Moss Rock, walking, front porches, or more charming neighborhood setup matter to you, this area can definitely stand out. Now, if the Preserve gives you that charming, tucked into nature feel, this next area shows you where Hoover has been changing really fast. And this is the part of town where the newer neighborhoods, outdoor recreation, shopping, and the Hoover Met all start to really connect. So before we move and head over to West Hoover, let's talk about the Lake Wilburn and Black Ridge area. Because if you like master plan communities, this is definitely one of those that you want on your list. And if you got a little extra money to spend, you can probably get one of these nicer luxury style homes right here on the lake. And y'all, this isn't for everybody, I know that, but it's definitely one of those options if you kind of want everything right in one spot, because you got access to all the shopping and the amenities that we already covered in the Stadium Trace section. But this area where the houses that are being built here, you get those newer homes, you're going to get nicer finishes, and there's multiple different little pockets that they're building in here. So really, depending on your budget, you can probably find something in here. And it's just one of those places where so many families and different people are moving to right now because it's the new hot area to move. But one of the downsides to this area that a lot of people don't talk about is going to be the traffic. I mean, you've got Stadium Trace Parkway, which ends up turning into Black Ridge Road right there, and it can definitely back up, especially getting in and out during morning traffic or even evening traffic. So if you're one of those people that don't really have very far to go, or maybe you're not having to get in and out of traffic at the same time that everybody else is, this might be a good area for you. So if a buyer tells me we want newer construction in Hoover, this is one of those areas that keeps popping up. All right, so we've covered the central and west end of Hoover. Now I want to move over towards the east, and we're going to cover the Greystone area. because a lot of people don't understand that Greystone is technically a part of Hoover. So if we zoom in here, you can see Greystone, Highway 280, you've got the Grandview Medical Center, Lee Branch, Inverness, and the Chelsea direction. And this is probably the clearest example of why Hoover can be confusing, because Greystone is technically Hoover, Bluff Park is Hoover, Ross Bridge is Hoover, but these places just don't feel the same. Because Greystone's more that Highway 280 side of Hoover, you got larger homes, gated communities, you've got golf course communities, access to Grandview, Inverness, that North Shelby area, even access down south towards Chelsea. And if your life is over here, maybe you work near Grandview, maybe you work towards the Chelsea area or that North Shelby area a lot. And maybe your day-to-day life is on the 280 side. So obviously Greystone can make a lot of sense for you if you're trying to stay in Hoover but want access to 280. But if your life is mostly downtown Birmingham, UAB, Homewood, I-65, you definitely want to understand that Greystone might be a little bit of a challenge for you. And Greystone is definitely recognized as more of one of those luxury areas in Hoover, but it's a different lifestyle like we already mentioned. And if we zoom in here, you've got the Greystone Golf and Country Club. This is definitely one of those popular spots if you can get in. And then just down the street, you got that Lee Branch shopping area. This is a popular spot for a lot of locals that just need to get their day-to-day things done. And you got a laundry list of different restaurants and places to go eat up and down 280. So if a client tells me we want a larger home on a golf course, we want gated area, and we want to be on the 280 side, ding, 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 Greystone is definitely going to be on their list. But in contrary, if they tell me that they want to be close to downtown, but they hate 280 traffic, then we definitely got to have an honest conversation. Now, before we wrap up, I definitely want to cover some of the parks and outdoor lifestyle that Hoover has to offer. Because one thing that Hoover does really well is its parks and outdoor access. And if we zoom back out, you can see this is not just one park in one part of town. Again, you got that Moss Rock Preserve area over here. You got hiking trails. You can go actually boulder climbing if you want to out there. And there's just multiple things to do. And we already covered the different restaurants and things around that area too. You've also got Veterans Park right over here on Valleydale. We actually covered this in one of our other videos. So if you want to check that one out, it's going to be in the description. But it's talking about the different parks in and around Birmingham. You've also got that Aldridge Gardens area near Lorna Road. And we've already covered the Hoover Met and Stadium Trace area, but they've got some pretty neat little parks over there with splash pads, different things for the kids to do. So definitely want to go check that out. As you can see, you've got a ton of different parks spread out all around Hoover. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up. So the simplest way that I could break Hoover down if you were sitting across from me as a client is if you want older charm, mature trees, mountain views, or closer in Birmingham access, I would definitely recommend Bluff Park. And if you want to be closer to that central area, I-65, 31, maybe you're closer to the Galleria for work or somewhere along there, I'm definitely going to recommend the Riverchase and Highway 31 area. Now, if you want newer growth, sports facilities, restaurants, bigger box areas, I'm definitely going to recommend that Stadium Trace, Trace Crossing, Black Ridge, Lake Wilburn area. If you want that front porch charm, a village feel, or quick access to Moss Rock Preserve, I'm definitely going to recommend the Preserve to you. If you want that resort style living, you want golf course, restaurants, all right there in the same area, definitely going to recommend Ross Bridge. And then if we move over to the other side of town, if you got to be off of 280 and you're okay living in that gated community, you've got golf access, different shopping, different food, definitely going to recommend Greystone. So hopefully this map tour helped you understand Hoover better, because Hoover's one of those places where the map matters just as much as the house does. And as you saw here, two homes here in Hoover can be completely different depending on where they're sitting in Hoover. Different commutes, different schools, different shopping patterns, different price points, and different lifestyles. This is exactly why I like to walk buyers through the map before we ever even start narrowing down houses. Because once you get a real good lay of the land, that's just going to make your search clearer. So if you're thinking about moving to Hoover, Birmingham, or really just anywhere in the surrounding suburbs, feel free to reach out. My link's right there in the description. It only takes a couple seconds to fill out, and we can set up a strategy call at your own convenience. On the call, we'll kind of cover a lot of the stuff that we did in this video, but it's going to be a little more custom tailored to you. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to see similar content, make sure you're subscribed below, and also give this video a like so it gets out to more people. And if you have any other areas that you want me to cover or different styles of videos, just drop those in the comments. I'd love to hear your feedback. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.